9 seconds of nothing. Long enough to wonder if the sound is broken. Long enough to feel something in the room that was not there before. Then, a single cello note. It holds. It does not resolve. Water, lapping against wood, slow, steady, like breathing, like someone is already there, waiting for you to notice. A man's voice, whispering, almost no emotion. But every word lands like a stone dropped into deep water. In 1920, an explosion shook Pollepel Island. The blast cracked the arsenal walls from foundation to roof. Windows shattered across the Hudson River. People in Beacon, 2 miles away, felt their houses tremble. Plates fell from shelves. Dogs hid under beds. Children woke up screaming. The fire burned for 3 days. Smoke rose so high it could be seen from West Point. Firefighters came from 3 towns. They could not reach the island. They could only watch from the shore as the castle burned. But some locals claimed the sound did not stop when the fire died. They said the knocking continued. From inside the castle, from below the foundation, from places no fire could reach. Knocking in patterns. Not random, not mechanical, deliberate. The official report called it an accident. Munitions storage, unstable explosives, a forgotten stockpile from the war. The locals called it something else. They never agreed on what, only that something had been there before Bannerman built his castle, something that did not appreciate being disturbed. This is not a history lesson. This is a warning. The following accounts come from interviews, letters, and police records. None have been explained. None ever will be. Listen once, then forget, if you can. But you will not forget. That is the problem with stories like these. They do not leave. They stay under your skin, behind your eyes. In the corner of the room you never look at directly. This is the first. In 2009, a woman named Sarah married a man named Paul. A small ceremony on a bluff overlooking the Hudson. It was October. The leaves had turned. Everything was orange and gold and red. It should have been a perfect day. Behind them, 2 miles downstream, Bannerman Castle sat on its island like a broken tooth, like a wound that never healed, like a mouth open in a silent scream. Sarah wanted it in the background. She thought it looked romantic. She did not know what romantic meant yet. She would learn. The photographer took 240 images. 239 of them were normal, happy, forgettable. The kind of photos you look at once and then put in a box and never open again. But one of them was not. Sarah posted that one on Facebook. A standard shot, bride and groom at the altar. The castle, a gray smudge in the distance. Friends commented, "Congratulations," hearts, emojis, the usual performance of happiness. Then someone wrote, "Who is standing behind your husband?" Sarah laughed. She thought it was a guest she had forgotten. She zoomed in. She wished she had not. Behind Paul's right shoulder, a dark shape. Human, tall, at least 6 feet, wearing a long coat, old-fashioned, 1920s maybe, the kind of coat no one wears anymore. The kind of coat you see in photographs of people who died before you were born, and where the face should have been, nothing, just darkness, not shadow, not blur. Darkness so complete it looked like a hole cut out of the photograph, a hole that led somewhere else. Sarah stared at it for an hour, then 2. She could not look away. The darkness did not move. but it felt like it was looking back. She felt her skin crawl. She felt something cold touch the back of her neck. She was alone in her living room. She called the photographer. He swore no one was there. He said he remembered that shot clearly. There was no one behind the groom. He had other shots from the same moment, different angles, and the figure appeared in none of them. He sent her the raw files. She checked every pixel. The figure was only in that one frame, as if it had stepped into existence just for that fraction of a second, just for her. Then how did it get into my photo? Sarah asked. The photographer did not answer. He said he needed a drink. He said he had been doing this job for 20 years and had never seen anything like it. He said he would not charge her for the wedding. He never photographed another wedding again. That night, Sarah deleted the photograph, emptied her trash, went to bed. She dreamt of water, dark water, cold water, water that moved even when there was no wind. She dreamt of a room with 3 chairs. One of them was facing away from her. In the morning, the photograph was back. Same file name, same timestamp, same figure, same hole where a face should have been. She deleted it again, restarted her computer, ran a virus scan. Nothing. She deleted it a 3rd time. It came back while she was watching. The file just reappeared in the folder, as if someone on the other side of the screen was putting it there, as if someone wanted her to see it. She replaced her hard drive, bought a new computer, uploaded nothing from the old one. The photograph appeared in her new machine's recovery folder within 24 hours. She had not connected any external drives. She had not logged into any cloud storage. The photograph knew her. The photograph followed her. The photograph wanted something. Sarah stopped posting online. She stopped answering emails. Her friends thought she was depressed. She was not depressed. She was afraid, not of the figure, of what the figure was doing to her husband. Because Paul was changing. Every night, she told a therapist later, she would wake up around 3 in the morning and find Paul sitting upright in bed, not awake, not asleep, his eyes open, his mouth slightly parted, his breathing slow, too slow, 8 breaths per minute, 6, 4, she counted. And behind him, on the wall, his shadow did not match his body. The shadow was taller, and it was wearing a long coat. The shadow moved when Paul did not. The shadow breathed when Paul held his breath. She tried to wake him. He would not wake. She shook him. He did not respond. She screamed his name. Nothing. Then, after a few minutes, he would lie back down and close his eyes. In the morning, he remembered nothing, but he looked more tired each day. Dark circles under his eyes, weight loss. He stopped eating. He stopped laughing. He stopped being Paul. Sarah begged him to see a doctor. He refused. He said she was imagining things. He said she was crazy. He started working late. Then he started not coming home at all. Then he stopped calling. Then he stopped answering. 3 years after the wedding, they divorced. Sarah told her lawyer, "I cannot look at his face anymore. Every time I do, I see that thing behind him. It is not a shadow. It is holding him. It is feeding on him, and I do not know how to make it stop." The lawyer asked, "Holding him how?" Sarah said, "Like he belongs to it, like he always has. Like the day we met, it was already there, waiting, and I did not see it. I was too happy to see it. That is how it gets you. That is how it always gets you." In 2018, a Reddit user found the photograph in an old data archive. No one knew how it got there. The user reposted it with one line, "I do not know who took this." but there is something behind me now. Please help me." That account never posted again. The user deleted his profile within hours, but not before 5 people messaged him. Not before 3 of them saw the photograph for themselves. Not before one of them started waking up at 3 in the morning. Sarah moved to Oregon, changed her name. She still has the photograph. She told a neighbor once, late at night, after too much wine, that she keeps it in a locked drawer. Not because she wants to hide it, because she is afraid that if she throws it away, it will find its way back to Paul. And Paul, she said, has suffered enough. Paul has given enough. The neighbor asked what the figure wanted. Sarah said, "It does not want anything. It just waits." That is the worst part. It does not chase you. It does not scream. It does not knock on your door. It just waits. And eventually you turn around. That is the first story. Here is the second. Water. Not lapping anymore. Submerged. Bubbles rising. A regulator breathing. In, out, slow and mechanical. The sound of a man trying not to die. The sound of a man who does not know that trying is not enough. In 1997, 3 men went diving near Bannerman Castle. Carl, Mike, and Danny, experienced divers. They had logged hundreds of dives between them. They had explored shipwrecks off the coast of Long Island. They had mapped underwater caves in Florida. They had seen things that would make most people never go near the ocean again. But they had never seen anything like what they found that day. They had permission from the state to inspect the foundation. The castle is old. The ice damages the stone every winter. The state wanted to know how much longer it would stand before collapsing into the river. The answer, as it turned out, had nothing to do with ice. They found a tunnel, cut stone, not in any blueprint. The cuts were clean, precise, made by tools that should not have existed when the castle was built. The edges were still sharp. The corners were still square, as if the tunnel had been cut yesterday, as if someone was still maintaining it. The tunnel was wide enough for one person, just one. No room for error. No room for a second chance. No room to turn around. Carl went in first. He was the leader, calm, careful. He had a dive light that could cut through any darkness. He had an underwater radio that had never failed him. He had experience. None of it mattered. Mike and Danny waited outside. The water was cold, 53 degrees. Cold enough to numb your fingers through a wetsuit. Cold enough to make you forget that you are warm-blooded. Cold enough to slow your thoughts. The current was mild. The visibility was good. There was no reason to be afraid. But they were afraid anyway. They did not know why. They just felt it. A pressure in the chest. A tightness in the throat. The sense that something behind them was watching. But they were against a wall. There was nothing behind them except open water. Through the underwater radio, they heard Carl's voice. Muffled, distorted, but still recognizably Carl. Still calm, still careful for the first few minutes. "There is a room," he said. "Big, bigger than it should be. The tunnel keeps going. I have been swimming for 2 minutes, and it has not ended. The walls are smooth, too smooth. Like someone polished them, like someone wanted them to feel good against the skin." Mike asked, "What is in it?" A long silence. Only bubbles. Only the sound of Carl breathing. In, out, then faster, then much faster, then a sound like a gasp, like a man seeing something he cannot process. Carl said, "Chairs, 3 chairs, wood, old. They are not underwater. There is air in here. How is there air in here? This should be flooded. This should be dark. This should not exist. Mike and Danny looked at each other. They could not see each other's faces through their masks, but both of them stopped moving. Both felt the same thing, a cold that had nothing to do with the water. A cold that came from inside. Carl said, One of them is facing away from me. It is turned toward the wall. Why would someone put a chair facing the wall? Who would sit like that? Unless they were not looking at the wall. Unless they were looking through it. Mike said, Carl, come back. Do not go near the chairs. Come back now. No response. Carl? Can you hear me? Carl. Only radio static. Then silence. Not the silence of a dead connection. The silence of someone choosing not to speak. The silence of someone who is no longer alone. They waited 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. Carl's air should have lasted another hour. His tank was full when he went in. They had checked it themselves. They called his name until their throats hurt. Nothing. They called until their voices broke. Nothing. They called until they could not remember why they were calling. Nothing. They surfaced. They called the police. The search took 3 days. 3 days of dragging the bottom with hooks and nets. 3 days of sonar sweeps that found nothing but rocks and old bottles. 3 days of dive teams going into the tunnel and coming back out with the same report. The tunnel ends. There is no room. There are no chairs. There is nothing. But Carl was gone. On the 3rd day, a security guard at the boat launch found a man sitting on the steps, soaking wet, shivering, smiling. His lips were blue. His skin was gray. His eyes were open. But he was smiling. It was Carl. He did not speak. He did not blink. His pupils had expanded until the iris was gone. Just black. 2 holes. 2 holes that looked like the hole in Sarah's photograph. 2 holes that looked like doors. The medics took him to the hospital. He did not resist. He did not cooperate. He just smiled. And he kept repeating the same sentence, softly, like a prayer, like a lullaby, like something he had been told to say. The chair was not facing away from me. It did not have a face, but it saw me. Over and over, 200 times, 300. The nurses stopped counting. They just let him say it. What else could they do? He was not hurting anyone. He was not hurting himself. He was just repeating, like a machine, like a recording, like something had been planted inside him. Carl died 11 days later. Cause of death? Severe dehydration. This made no sense. He was in a hospital. He had access to water. He drank constantly. Nurses reported that he emptied cup after cup. He drank until his stomach bloated. He drank until he vomited. Then he drank again. But his body did not retain anything. The water passed through him. His skin was dry. His lips were cracked. He looked like a man who had been in the desert for weeks. The doctor wrote in his notes, "It is as if his body has forgotten how to be alive. I have never seen anything like this in 23 years of practice. I hope I never see it again." Before he died, Carl asked for paper and a red pen. He wrote one sentence. His hand shook. His eyes were still black. His smile never faded. He wrote slowly, carefully, as if he was copying from memory. The nurses found the paper on his bedside table the next morning, next to his cold hand. Down there is not water. Down there is only them. That note was later referenced in a sealed hospital addendum. No public copy has ever been released. The hospital will not confirm or deny its existence. But 3 nurses who worked that night have confirmed it privately, off the record, in whispers. Mike and Danny never dived again. Danny sold his gear at a loss. He just wanted it out of his house. He said he could hear the regulator breathing at night, in his closet, in his walls. He moved to Florida and never went near the ocean. He lives in a retirement community now, 100 miles from the coast. He still does not sleep through the night. Mike moved to Arizona, the desert, as far from water as he could get. He told his wife, only once, never again. When Carl talked about the chair, I heard something else through the radio, before the static. Not Carl's voice, another voice, deeper, older. It said, there is still one empty chair. Mike never explained what that meant. No one ever dared to ask. His wife says he wakes up screaming sometimes. Not every night, just the nights when the wind comes from the west. Just the nights when the air smells like river. That is the second story. Here is the third.
In 1987, a man named David sat on a boat half a mile from the castle. He was a high school teacher. He taught history. He liked old things. He liked the way old things held on to the past. He did not know that the past holds on to you too. He did not go near the island. He just wanted to capture the castle in the fog. Beautiful, romantic, the kind of image you put on a postcard. The kind of image that makes people say, I would love to visit that place someday. He did not know that some places do not want visitors. His camera was an old VHS. He had used it for years. He knew its quirks. He knew the way the tape hissed when it was recording. He knew the way the image jumped when the battery was low. He trusted it. That was his mistake. He filmed for about an hour. The fog thickened and thinned. The castle appeared and disappeared. He watched through the viewfinder, not really seeing, just recording, just collecting, and just being a tourist in a place that was never meant to be a destination. Then he went home, watched the tape back, and stopped at the 7th minute. A window on the 2nd floor opened. David rewound. He played it in slow motion. He played it frame by frame. He played it 20 times. The window opened slowly, and a hand rested on the frame. The hand was pale in a way skin should not be. Not white, not gray, preserved, like something kept in a jar, like something that had never been alive, but was pretending. Then the window closed. The whole thing lasted 2 seconds. 2 seconds that changed everything. David sent the tape to the local TV station. The news director was a woman named Carol. She had been in journalism for 30 years. She had seen hoaxes. She had seen fakes. She had seen people lie for attention. She looked at the tape and said nothing for a long time. Then she said, "This is not a hoax. I do not know what it is, but it is not a hoax." She had a technician analyze the footage, pixel by pixel, frame by frame. The technician concluded, no sign of staging, no wires, no strings, no special effects, no real person in the frame. But something pushed that window from the inside. Something that left no trace. Something that should not be there. Carol asked David if he wanted them to publish the story. David said yes. He was not afraid. He was curious. He was a history teacher. He wanted answers. He did not know that some questions do not have answers. He did not know that asking is sometimes the dangerous part. The story ran in the local paper, a small headline on page 12. Most people ignored it, but not everyone. Not the person who called at 3 in the morning. 3 days after the article ran, David received a phone call at 3 in the morning. He picked up. He heard a piano. Not an adult song. A children's song. Slow, clumsy, like a 5-year-old learning to play. The same melody over and over. Wrong rhythm, wrong notes, but never stopping. Never correcting. Just repeating. As if the player did not know there was a right way to play. As if the player had never heard the song before, but was remembering it from somewhere else. David listened for 20 minutes. No words, only the keys. And in the distance, very far away, laughter. Not happy laughter, not sad laughter. The kind of laughter that comes from a room you are not supposed to enter. The kind of laughter that makes the hair on your arms stand up. He hung up. The phone rang again immediately. This time the same piano, but closer. As if the player was in his living room. As if the wall between them had gotten thinner. David unplugged the phone. The phone still rang. He removed the battery. The phone went silent. But from the living room wall, from inside the drywall, the piano continued. Muffled, distant, but unmistakable. The same song. The same wrong notes, the same slow, clumsy fingers. David sold his house within a month. He took a loss. He did not care. He just wanted to leave. He moved to another town, far from the river, far from the castle, as far as he could go while staying in the same state. He thought distance would help. He was wrong. Before he left, he watched the VHS tape one more time. He wanted to see if the hand was still there. It was, but now there was more. The footage had changed. The window still opened. The hand still appeared. But now, at the end of the sequence, the camera panned left. David did not pan left. He had set the camera on a tripod. The tripod did not move. The camera did not have a motor. It could not pan on its own. But the tape showed a slow, smooth pan to the left. And there, sitting in his boat, was David, from behind, from an angle that should not exist. No camera was there. No one was behind him. But the tape showed his back, his shoulders, the back of his head. And behind him, standing on the water, a figure in a long coat, no face, just darkness. The same darkness from Sarah's photograph, the same darkness that Carl saw in the chairs. David checked the original recording. He had kept it separate. The original was fine. The original showed nothing. The original was a boring hour of fog and castle. The copy had changed. The tape was rewriting itself. He burned the tape. He took it outside. He put it in a metal trash can. He poured gasoline on it. He lit a match. He watched it melt. He watched the plastic bubble and blacken and curl. He watched the tape hiss one last time. When he picked up the can later, the metal was warm. The tape had been hot, hotter than it should have been. It had not been near any flame for hours. He buried the ashes in his backyard. That night, the phone rang again. He did not answer, but he heard it anyway. Not from the phone, from the walls, from the floor, from inside his own head. The same piano, the same children's song, the same slow, clumsy fingers, the same distant laughter. David is still alive, 83 years old. He lives in a small apartment with his daughter. He never mentions the castle. He never mentions the piano. He watches television during the day and sleeps with the lights on at night. But his daughter says that whenever she visits at night, she hears piano keys from the basement. The building does not have a basement. It is a slab foundation. There is no space under the floor. But she hears it anyway. The same song, the same wrong notes, the same slow, clumsy fingers. She asked her father once what the song was. He looked at her. His eyes were empty, not black like Carl's, just empty, tired. He said, "That is the song they play when they are waiting for someone to sit down." He never explained what that meant. That is the third story. Here is the fourth. In 1975, a woman named Margaret wrote a letter. She did not send it to anyone she knew. She did not send it to a friend or a family member or a lover. She sent it to the Beacon Post Office with one line on the envelope: to the person who sits in the basement of Bannerman Castle. No recipient name, no address, no return address, no stamp, just that line, written in blue ink, in handwriting that shook slightly, in handwriting that looked like it had been written in the dark. The postal worker that day was a woman named Helen. She had worked at the Beacon Post Office for 14 years. She had seen strange letters before. Letters to Santa, letters to God, letters to dead relatives, but never a letter to a basement, never a letter to a castle that had been abandoned for 8 years. She opened the envelope. The paper inside was damp, not wet from rain, wet with river water. The envelope was dry, only the paper was wet, as if someone had pulled it out of the Hudson and put it in an envelope while it was still dripping. She read the letter. She quit her job the next day. She did not explain why. She just handed in her badge and walked out. She never worked for the post office again. She never worked anywhere again. She lived off savings for the rest of her life. She told no one what the letter said. But a co-worker saw the letter before Helen put it away. The co-worker was a young man named Thomas. He had only been working at the post office for 3 months. He was curious too. He looked over Helen's shoulder. He read the letter, and he never forgot it. The letter said, "I know you are waiting. I know you cannot come out, but I have seen you through the window. You should not stand there. You should not look at my children. Stop, or I will come down there to meet you." The handwriting shook, but it was beautiful. The handwriting of someone who attended an old school from the era of fountain pens and inkwells and wooden desks. The handwriting of someone who had been taught to write properly, carefully, as if every letter mattered. In the bottom right corner of the letter, a phone number. No name, just the number. 7 digits, a local number, a number that still worked. Helen called that number. She dialed from the post office phone. Thomas watched her. He said her hand was shaking. He said her voice was steady, but her hand was not. A man answered, his voice deep, tired. The voice of someone who has not slept in a long time. The voice of someone who has seen something he cannot explain. He said, "Do not call again." We do not know that letter. We do not know anyone named Margaret. Helen asked, "Who are you?" The man said, "No one." And he hung up. Helen called back. The line was dead, not busy, dead, as if the number had been disconnected. But she had just spoken to someone. She had just heard a voice. She had just been told to stop. So she stopped. 3 days later, a man came to the post office. He wore a coat. Even though it was hot, sweat ran down his forehead, but he did not take it off. He approached Helen's counter and said, "I have come for the letter." Helen asked, "Who are you?" The man said, "The recipient." Before Helen could say another word, he took the letter, folded it, put it in his pocket, and walked out the door. He did not run. He did not hurry. He walked slowly, calmly. as if he had all the time in the world, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Helen ran after him. She watched him walk toward the river. There was no boat, no bridge, only water. He kept walking. He did not stop. He walked down the boat ramp and into the water. His shoes got wet, then his ankles, then his knees, then his waist. Helen screamed for him to stop. He did not stop. He kept walking. The water rose to his chest, then his neck, then his chin. Then he was gone. Not a splash, not a ripple, just gone. As if the water had opened up and swallowed him, and then closed again, without a trace. Helen stood there for 5 minutes, then 10. She did not see him return. She did not see him anywhere. Only the river, flat and still, and a thin fog beginning to rise from the surface. The sky was clear. There was no reason for fog, but it rose anyway. Helen never told this story to anyone for 26 years. She kept it inside her. She let it grow. She let it rot. She let it become part of her. In 2001, she told a reporter, just before she died, in an interview, she asked not to be released until after her death. She wanted to die without the world knowing. She wanted to take the secret with her, but she also wanted someone to know. She wanted someone to remember. The reporter asked, "Were you afraid?" Helen said, "I was not afraid of the man. I was afraid of the letter. Because after he took it, I realized something. Margaret, the woman who wrote the letter, her handwriting, and I had seen it somewhere before. I had seen it in an old photo album. I had seen it on the back of a photograph of a woman who looked just like me." The reporter asked, "Where?" Helen said, "In an old file, a missing persons case from 1947. A woman named Margaret disappeared on Pollepel Island. She was never found. She was my grandmother. She wrote that letter 28 years after she disappeared. How is that possible? How can a woman who vanished in 1947 write a letter in 1975? The reporter asked, "Are you sure?" Helen said, "I am sure, because I am her granddaughter. I recognized her handwriting. I recognized her way of making the letter M. I recognized the way she crossed her T's. I recognized her signature. She was dead, or she should have been, but she wrote that letter, and someone came to get it. And that someone walked into the river and never came out." No one knows if Helen's story was true. She died in 2002. No family member confirmed or denied it. The reporter who interviewed her died in 2015. The recording of the interview was lost, or stolen, or erased. No one knows. But one thing is certain. The post office has records. A letter was delivered to Pollepel Island on the 15th of October, 1975. The recipient field is blank. The signature line is blank. But someone stamped it, delivered. No one has seen that man in the coat ever again. No one has seen the water do what it did that day. No one has seen the fog rise without reason. But the fog still rises, sometimes, when no one is watching. That is the fourth story. Here is the fifth and final story. In 2014, 3 friends, Jake, Leo, and Mia, rented kayaks to go to Pollepel Island. They had no permit. They knew it was illegal. They knew the risks. They had read the stories online. They had watched the videos. They thought it would be fun to see the castle up close. They did not know that some places are not meant to be seen up close. They launched from the west bank at 10 in the morning. The sky was clear. The river was calm. They could see the castle in the distance, clear as always. It looked small from there, harmless, pretty even. They took pictures. They laughed. They did not know that they were already being watched. Jake carried a handheld GPS. He liked technology. He trusted it. He wanted to record the route and post it online. He wanted to prove that they had done it. He wanted evidence. He did not know that evidence can be taken away. After 40 minutes of paddling, Mia looked at the GPS screen and said, "That's strange. It says we're in the middle of a field, 2 miles west of the river." Jake laughed. He said the device was glitching. Leo laughed too. They kept paddling. They did not look back. They did not see the shore disappearing behind them. They did not see the fog forming. They did not see anything wrong until it was too late. 20 more minutes passed. The castle was still far away, no closer. Even though they had paddled far enough to reach the island long ago, Jake checked his watch. They had been paddling for over an hour. The island should have been right in front of them. It was not. It was still a speck on the horizon, still distant, still unreachable. End quote. Leo said, "Let's turn around." They turned, but the shore was gone. Behind them, only fog. Thick, white, silent fog. The kind of fog that swallows sound. The kind of fog that makes you feel like you are the only person in the world. And there had been no fog before. No clouds, no mist, nothing. It had appeared out of nowhere, as if someone had turned it on. Jake looked at the GPS. The coordinates jumped wildly from one point to another, following no logic of movement. 1 second, they were on the river. The next second, the GPS said they were on a mountain peak 30 miles away. Then, in a parking lot. Then, in a cemetery. Then, in a place the GPS did not have a name for. Then, error. Then, nothing. Later, when the police extracted the data, the GPS had logged coordinates that do not exist, latitude and longitude that fall outside any known map. The technician who analyzed the data said, "This is not a glitch. These are real coordinates. They just do not correspond to any location on Earth." Mia started to cry. Jake shouted. He called Leo's name. He called Mia's name, but his voice did not carry far, as if the sound was being swallowed by the air itself, as if the fog was eating their voices, as if they were screaming into a pillow. Leo was silent. His face was pale. His eyes stared down at the water. He had stopped paddling. He had stopped moving. He was just sitting there, looking down, as if he could see something the others could not, as if something was calling to him from below. Then Leo said, "There is someone down there." Jake and Mia looked down. The water was clear, too clear. They could see the bottom. They could see rocks and weeds and old bottles, but no people, nothing alive, nothing moving, just silence and sediment. Leo said, "They are calling my name." Jake told Leo to be quiet. Leo did not stop. Leo leaned down, reached his hand into the water, and smiled. Not a happy smile, not a friendly smile. The smile of someone who has just recognized a voice they have been hearing in their dreams for years. He said, "It's okay. They know me. They have been waiting for me." Jake grabbed Leo's arm. He held on tight. He said, "Do not go. Do not leave us, please." Leo looked at Jake. His eyes were calm, too calm. His pupils were wide, not black like Carl's, just wide, open, accepting. He said, "There is still one empty chair, Jake, and it has my name on it." Then he slid into the water like he was getting into bed. No splash, no struggle, no scream. He just went, as if the water was not water, as if the water was a door, and he had finally found the key. Jake lunged for him. His hand closed on nothing. The water was clear. He could see Leo sinking, slowly, peacefully, facing upward, still smiling, still looking at Jake, still waving. Then Leo was gone. Not faded, not disappeared, 1 second there, 1 second not there. As if the water had decided that Leo belonged to it now. As if Leo had always belonged to it and was just coming home. Jake and Mia paddled for hours. They did not know which direction. They only knew to paddle. They paddled until their arms gave out, until their hands blistered, until their shoulders screamed. They paddled until they could not lift their paddles anymore. They paddled until they forgot why they were paddling. Then, suddenly, as if someone turned on a light, the fog lifted. They were right next to the shore, 50 meters from where they had started. They could see cars. They could see houses. They could see people walking their dogs. Normal life, continuing, unaware. As if they had never left. As if the whole journey, the hours of paddling, the minutes of terror, the loss of Leo, had never happened. But Leo was gone, and his kayak was empty. And his paddle was floating, and his life jacket was still in the boat, untouched. He had not been wearing it. The police searched for 5 days. They found the kayaks. They found Mia's phone. They found Jake's GPS with its impossible coordinates. And they did not find Leo. No body, no trace, no evidence that Leo had ever existed, except for Jake and Mia's story. The police filed a report. They listed Leo as a missing person. Now, they did not call it a drowning because there was no evidence of drowning. They did not call it a disappearance because that word felt too strange. They called it pending. Pending never closes. Pending waits forever. Jake never recovered. He quit his job, left his home, left his name. Now he wanders along the Hudson River, holding a sign that says, "Do not look down at the water. They are looking up." No one knows who they are. No one asks. People cross to the other side of the street when they see him. People pretend not to notice. People do not want to know. Mia lives in a nursing home in Maine. She is 34 years old. She should not be in a nursing home, but she cannot speak anymore. She cannot feed herself. She cannot remember how to brush her teeth. The doctors say there is no physical damage to her vocal cords or her brain. They say she has forgotten how to be a person. They say she has forgotten how to live. Sometimes at night, the nurses see Mia write one line on paper with a red pen. The same line, over and over. The nurses do not understand what it means. They do not want to understand. They just take the paper away and throw it in the trash. But the next night, there is more paper, the same line, the same red pen, the same shaking handwriting. And Leo is still down there. And they are still calling. That is the fifth story. A long silence of 15 seconds of nothing. Enough time to wonder if the recording has ended. Enough time to hear your own heartbeat. Then a whisper, very faint. Maybe from the recording. Maybe from the next room. Maybe from the corner of the room you have never looked at directly. We still have one empty chair. Another silence. A longer, this time. Then the man's voice again. Not whispering anymore. Speaking normally. As if he is sitting right next to you. I have told you 5 stories, but there were 6. I never told you mine. Another pause. Just long enough to feel the weight of those words. In 1995, I was 17 years old. I took a boat to Pollepel Island with 3 friends. We did not come back with 3. We came back with 2. I will not tell you who we left behind. I will not tell you his name. I will not tell you what I saw. Some things are not for telling. Some things are only for carrying. I have carried this for 29 years. I will carry it for the rest of my life. And when I die, it will not die with me. It will find someone else. It always does. But I will tell you this. When you hear water lapping at night, when you wake up at 3 in the morning for no reason, when you catch a shadow in the corner of your eye that does not match the person standing there, when you dream of a room with 3 chairs and one of them is facing away from you, that is not your imagination. That is them, checking, waiting, counting, and one day, not soon, but one day, they will find your chair empty too. A very long silence. Then the whisper returns, even fainter this time, as if the speaker has moved into another room, or as if someone else is speaking. You will check the corner before you sleep tonight. You will look behind you before you close your eyes. You will remember the stories. You will remember the chair. You will remember that there is always one empty seat. And somewhere, on an island in the Hudson River, in a room that should not exist, underwater but not underwater, something is waiting. Not for Leo, not for Carl, not for Sarah or David or Margaret. For you. A final silence. Then nothing.